Hi guys, I'm going to do my video presentation for our author that we chose. Once I have it in the present mode, you won't be able to see me, but you'll still be able to hear me. So the author that I chose is Tracey Baptiste. She grew up in Trinidad and she grew up loving stories, loving books, especially fairy tales. Her mother gave her a book of the Grimm fairy tales, and that's where she really found that love. She knew she wanted to be a writer very early on in life, but didn't share that with the people around her till much later. She moved to the United States when she was 15 and attended New York University and eventually taught elementary school. She loved teaching second grade. That was her favorite grade to be with before she moved on to write for textbooks and curriculum and then write as an author full time. She now lives in New Jersey with her husband, kids, and her dog is who hangs out with her in the office while she works. She has several published books. She has the Jumbie series, which is one of her most popular. She also has several nonfiction books. The Black Enough Stories of Being Young and Black in America, The Talk Conversations about Race, Love, and Truth. She has African Icons, 10 People Who Shaped History, which I read a quote from Ibram X. Kendi, who spoke very highly of that book. Because Claudette, The Totally Gross History of Ancient Egypt, and so many more. Tracey Baptiste is a New York Times bestselling author, most well known for her book Minecraft: The Crash, and of course that creepy Caribbean series, The Jumbies. According to her website, The Jumbies and Rise of the Jumbies are both Junior Library Guild selections. They were also featured on the We Need Diverse Books Must Read list. And then the Minecraft: The Crash debuted at number 5 on the New York Times bestseller list in July of 2018. And her books should definitely be in your collection, whether it's in your classroom, your kids' bookshelf, or a library bookshelf. Her Spooky Jumbie series seems perfect for middle grades. It seems like a series that I would have loved as a kid. And I think it's a great way to introduce students to folklore from other cultures. They're full of adventure and a little bit of horror. According to her, she did not write them with the intention of writing a horror book. That's just the category it fell into. Um, and her nonfiction books are engaging and useful for a variety of classes. She has some about authors, some about important African American figures and African figures. Um, and I know that nonfiction is often not our students' favorite types of books to pick up. And I think after looking at hers, the bright pictures, the people she talks about, and the way she writes about them would be inviting for students and a good way to get them more involved in reading nonfiction. And I think it's cool that she is still involved in writing for education and visiting schools. And she even does virtual school visits, which could be a really cool thing to set up for your students if you introduced her as an author and them to some of her work. So the book that I chose to read by Tracey Baptiste was Looking for a Jumbie. I chose this picture book version of her Jumbie series because it is geared towards those lower grades, and that is what I spend most of my time with. I taught fourth for a while, and now I'm about to be in second grade. So while I think the Jumbie series for the middle grade sounds amazing, I don't know if it will be appropriate for my second graders. So I wanted to read her picture book that is geared towards those lower grades. The Jumbies we learn in the story are a lot like trolls, and there are many different types. None of them are the same. And Naya, the main character in the story, is very fascinated with them, and her mother tells her that Jumbies only exist in stories, that they're not real. But she insists on finding them. After she's tucked into bed that night, she leaves the house and ventures out into the forest. Throughout the story, she keeps looking for a scary Jumbie and saying, "They come out at night when the moon is bright. It's the perfect time to find one." As she trots through the forest, she runs into several different Jumbies, and they join her on her journey and find more. And at the end of the story, she arrives back at her house surrounded by her new friends who curl up and go to sleep. And I loved seeing the mythical creatures from the Caribbean. The illustrations were wonderful, and it kind of reminded me of like a Where the Wild Things Are type story. But I really enjoyed it. And she is a superb storyteller because she takes her experience and her background, and then also her love of folklore, to create these engaging children's books and young adult literature. And I love that she's not limited to just one genre. She has the adventure horror fiction series. She also has useful nonfiction books, and even collaborated with the daughter of Bob Marley on a picture book, which is kind of neat. And then here are my references.